What's up, guys? Welcome into the Work Wherever podcast. Today's episode, we're talking about deschooling, what it is, why you should do it, and we'll see you on the other side of the intro.
Take your guard and let it down, 'cause you can work wherever now.
All right, welcome into the Work Wherever podcast. I'm your host, Roy Edwards, and this is a homegrown episode, so I have Halie here.
Hey.
Yes, hi, that's my wife. We are going to talk about homeschooling today. The homegrown episodes are Homegrown with Halie. You can go to homegrownwithhalie.com to check out all those episodes, all those resources. And on these episodes, we have 4 flavors of the podcast. We have the hotspot episodes with Sydney and I, where we go through the internet. We have the homegrown episodes, which is this one where we talk about homeschooling and life as a work wherever professional. We have the solo episodes, which is me by myself, putting on my tinfoil hat and giving it a go. And then we have the full length, which would be like interviews with people in places talking about things. Those are great episodes. So this is the Work Wherever podcast, where we talk about AI automation, the ability to work wherever so you can live every day like it is Saturday. And so today's episode, Hale,
Yes.
is deschooling.
Yeah, we're talking about deschooling.
Talking about deschooling.
Yep.
What is deschooling?
So deschooling is the term that really describes the period of time when you come home from an institutionalized school and you have some informal learning. Informal learning.
Yeah. Not in the formals.
Yeah. To like refocus your mind and reignite your child's love of learning. A chance to just really evaluate what you want out of homeschooling, set goals, set a homeschool mission statement, and just reset what you believe education to be. Right?
Getting out of the
institutionalized schooling habits.
worksheets.
Not to say
constant
that worksheets are
quizzes.
like a bad thing, but it's really, so deschooling really is a chance to like reignite both you and your child's love of learning, by just doing fun, less structured activities, maybe field trips, outside, like nature type school, a chance to, I know you had talked a little about unschooling, and that's different than deschooling, but unschooling is just like letting the child really lead by interest. So deschooling is kind of like a shortened version of what that unschooling method would be.
And so deschooling is getting out of the education system understanding of what education would be. So
of like the institutionalized mindset of what education
Right.
is, so that you have a chance to recalibrate your thinking and start to align your beliefs with what homeschool method you're going to choose, or whether you pick an eclectic bunch of methods that you choose, but to align yourself with those beliefs.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what that means, because that's a lot of words there. I don't understand a lot of those words. So what that means, for those of you who think like me and don't like big words or grammar, what that would mean, break that down for me, is
Okay.
so we left an institutionalized school
Yeah.
in 2020,
We did.
and we tried to recreate the classroom.
We just jumped right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't deschool at all at
Right.
first. I didn't even know about deschooling.
Right.
I just was like, okay, you're home now. We're not doing the virtual school. I have this curriculum. Got some good ratings on the internet. Let's get through every subject every day. And it was really tough. It wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't joyful. And
Stressful as hell.
it was very stressful, and it didn't need to be that way. It really didn't. Depending on what you want out of homeschooling, maybe you do want, just to have your child sitting and you guys are just going through the worksheets all day. I don't know. That just wasn't for us.
Sometimes it does. I mean, some kids.
It depends on the child.
kids
Depends
learn
on the
that
school.
way.
Yeah,
But
that's like what. So that
most kids don't.
will be like a formal type of
Right.
homeschooling situation.
That's not necessarily what we're talking about. That's not what deschooling is. Deschooling is essentially taking a 180 from that. Is
It's like turning your back to where you left and saying, this is our path forward. Let's just lay a clean slate. Let's not think about worksheets or fire drills or, you know, anything really other than how we like to learn, how you like to learn, son or daughter. What is the best fit for you and for our home and for our goals? And you as the parent, you know, taking that time to find as many resources as you can through the library, through the internet, through homeschooling communities, and just like setting your foundation in what your home education is going to be.
There's a few things that were pretty interesting to me when we first started this concept. One was that you can teach subjects through other subjects.
Yeah. Well, we didn't start the concept of deschooling. I just want to make that clear. Like that's something that's like
right. We didn't invent.
Yeah. When
right.
when we went down the path of deschooling,
we found this.
Yes.
Yeah, we were like, oh.
Yeah, we happened upon it in like my quest of like figuring out how to homeschool.
Because we knew that doing the worksheets and the workbooks and sitting in front of a computer, it didn't really, because we got thrown into it for COVID. For those of you who've been following along with this series, we got thrown into it with COVID, much like all of you listening probably did, where we were public school. Teacher was like, hey, good luck connecting to the Zoom or the Blackboard or whatever they wanted to use that week, because we went through like 4 different.
If you haven't been able to log on by now, you may as well give up.
Yeah, the exact quote from the email. And so we were like, okay, well, obviously we have to do something. We can't just rely on the public school system to figure it out, because they're not going to figure it out. So what do we do? And we started looking into online resources. We started looking at ways that we could bring worksheets. I think the school sent home
it was just really
packets.
Yeah, we didn't do that. I looked for curriculum. I wanted to, at first, I really wanted like an out of the box curriculum that I didn't have to do any planning. That was like, okay, this is what we're doing for history, math, science, spelling. I just wanted it all just to be
Give
there.
me all the,
yes,
all the
and just like, so I don't have to do any planning. And it was really overwhelming, even though I didn't think it would be, because all the work I thought was already done for me. But it was like finding the time to get through all of that in an enjoyable way when, you know, that just wasn't for us.
Yeah, that didn't, I don't want to say it didn't work, because he was learning, but we only had one kid doing it at that time, right?
Yeah.
And to replicate that to where we're at now, we have 3 kids in homeschooling now.
Yeah.
And then our youngest, he would be, I guess, in a preschool state, not really necessarily doing
some people do take a more formal approach. Like, I'm not saying that, like, you know.
But we're saying not to. We're taking that stance. And we're saying don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you guys want to do that, go ahead. Go listen to another podcast. But on this podcast, we're going to take the stance to say that the institutionalized traditional schooling way is not the best way to do it. And if you want to do that, then go listen to another podcast, because that's not what this podcast is going to be. That's not what this series is going to be about. Like
homeschoolers who do choose to have a more formal approach.
Cool. Go for you, but don't listen to me.
Okay.
You know, because that's not our approach.
No, that's very true. I mean, I have
nothing good to say about that approach.
I think to each their own. It's just not for me.
It's not for us.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad way to go about it. Okay. Team defund education over here. The institutionalized stuff. I'm on that side of the creek. So, well, but to get back to what we're talking about, the deschooling is an about face, a 180 away from those traditional thought processes of what school what education should look like.
Yeah, right? Like you think of COVID, and a lot of people called it like the Great Reset.
Yeah.
And so like that's what deschooling is. It's the Great Reset. It's
for education.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what deschooling is, the Great Reset. Just
it's everything that people have been saying about the education system, and instead of trying to replicate it in your household, if you look at the education system today, public school, private school, it doesn't matter. We've done both. We did public school for up till 3rd grade. I think that's what it was. Grade. And we're both public school.
Yeah.
And then we did private school for a year, and it was essentially the same thing. It's just with a little bit more organized curriculum, to be honest with you. And
a little slightly smaller class size.
Slightly smaller class size, right?
A little more expensive than public
a
school.
little bit more expensive, yeah. And so we came home, and we
Mhm.
actually did homeschool and private school at the same time at
Yeah.
one point,
Yeah.
because we had our oldest homeschooled, and then our second at the time was in private school. So
Mhm.
we've seen all of the different levels that you can do. And
Yeah.
the private school that we went to was a blue ribbon school, very highly rated. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like we did like, you know,
It's a great option for somebody who's not
not
able
us,
to
and not for the
homeschool.
listeners
Yeah.
of this podcast.
Right.
So the deschooling approach is to get away from the
The mindset of what an institutionalized education looks
Right.
like.
right.
Yeah.
So you have come to the decision now by listening to this. You're saying, yes, I'm in deschooling. What do I do now?
Don't stress, right? Just you're thinking of it as like a summer vacation, really, even if it's like, in the middle of the year. It's maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month where you're like, just going on field trips. You're reading books, you're going to the library. You're spending time deciding what your goals are and how your child learns best. And you're just reigniting your child's level of learning. That's what I come back to. It's just like teaching your child that learning is so fun, and you've been given this beautiful mind, and you're unique, and you learn in a unique way, and you can thrive, like beyond thrive, outside of
And you can teach
four walls.
subjects. I think I started that thought and didn't finish it, but you can teach subjects to other subjects where you can.
Well, so now you're getting into like methods of
Yeah.
teaching. Yeah.
But that's part of deschooling, is it not?
Well, deschooling is really just taking a step back from formal learning.
Right. Getting away from
Yeah.
the institutionalized
giving
method,
yourself-
and then you pick a method, I guess,
Yes.
right?
It's like giving yourself like a guilt-free pass to just chill for a little bit and not stress.
Understood.
Yeah.
So from there, after you have chosen a method, then you would want to get into the idea of how it is that you're going to approach. And so from us, we have taken that approach to say that we're going to do field trips. We're
Mhm.
going to do
What are you talking
outside learning. The methods that we've chose to get out of.
about? Well, we've already we've gone through a deschooling process. The deschooling process isn't like an extended sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so from the deschooling process, you choose your methods.
Yeah. You choose what you align with, right? So there's all sorts of methods, right? There's like the Charlotte Mason method, Montessori, classical, traditional, formal, maybe an eclectic style, maybe unschooling, right? And this
Okay,
is
so
when
out of deschooling comes unschooling.
if you choose
If
to
you
go down
choose
that
to go
path.
that- right,
We didn't choose to go down an unschooling path.
right.
Yeah. But there's people who do.
Mm-hmm. Because I've heard those terms used interchangeably,
Yeah.
probably in error, but deschooling and unschooling
Okay.
people will use them in different terms.
Yeah, so like deschooling is like just like a step towards homeschooling, right? Like you're
It's step one.
yeah.
I gotcha.
Unschooling would be the method that you choose
Mm.
in your homeschool.
I've been using that term wrong then.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah, we don't unschool.
Right,
Yeah, we don't unschool.
right. Okay. So
Unschooling is too unstructured for us. Like I think that
yeah,
like children, they do thrive with, boundaries, discipline, structure.
well, yeah,
Right.
They need discipline.
But
As our daughter
so
comes
we don't
down here
unschool.
into our podcast as we're trying to.
Yep, Sissy's
I know.
hanging out, watching.
Okay. So, what's the next step there from deschooling? You've decided that you're taking a step back.
Okay.
You're taking a look at
Yeah.
some of the
You-
different methods.
Right. And so then you choose which methods like really resonate with you, right? I can't tell you what methods will
Right.
resonate most with you.
And we'll get
And-
into some of those methods on this show at some point,
Yeah.
another episode.
And then so read a lot. There's lots of
Yeah.
reading that comes with planning homeschooling.
Oh my gosh.
But it's fun, and so you find what you're aligning with as far as methods, or maybe it's an eclectic mix of different methods, and then you start to build what your curriculum will be, right? And so maybe you are using some out of the box curriculums that are already made. Like for math, like I don't just pull, you know, an assortment of math. Like we are following a curriculum for math. And yeah.
Yeah, the curriculum for math, because that one seems to be one of the questions that a lot of people ask is like, if I don't understand something, how can I teach it to my children? And that's where those types of curriculums do come in handy.
So I totally get that. So the youngest two that we're homeschooling right now are 6 and 8, and so I can easily teach 6 and 8-year-olds math, right? Our oldest that we're homeschooling right now, he's 12, and so he's starting to get into more complex math.
To get up there.
Yeah, so we have a math tutor, right? And so, and we've offloaded math for him, so he's taking math through an online school. So I'm not even teaching him math.
Right, we don't even really touch it.
No, I manage a parent account.
Right.
There's like an observer account where I'm able to like keep up with everything he's doing and communicate with his tutor, who happens to be a very good friend of ours, who happens to be a former math teacher, right? So yeah, just use your resources. You know, you don't have to think like it's all on you. I mean, it is.
It is a little bit, right? Yeah, you chose to raise a child. You brought a living being into the world. Yeah, but just like
you have to be resourceful.
Yeah.
You know, okay, you don't know how to do something. Well, figure it out.
Right, you'll figure it out.
And I think that's a great lesson for our children because, you know, they're watching us figure it out and know that we're, you know, spending like our blood, sweat, and tears on figuring it out for them because we care so much about them.
Yeah. How often do you deschool? Was it just like a one-time thing?
I think like it would be like whenever you need a refresh. Like when you feel like things are getting like stagnant or you're feeling like, okay, like we're not happy, like this isn't joyful right now.
Something's not working. Let's figure it out. It's almost like a retrospect. For those in the technology field, which this is a tech podcast, that you have the retrospective, which from a technology perspective, you do a retrospect every 2 weeks. You look back and you say what went right, what went wrong, what we can do better.
Okay.
Deschooling that's probably too often.
Well, I don't know. I've definitely there was a book that I read recently, and they break their schooling up into like not quarters, but so they'll school for 6 weeks and then they'll take a week break. School for 6 weeks, take a week break, and it's year round. And so like every 6 weeks they reevaluate and like what's going right, what's not going right. But like with that, okay, so if you're just starting out homeschooling, you don't need to go and just invest in all sorts of curriculum. I really would like suggest against doing that. We
spent a lot of money in the beginning in the curriculum.
Yeah, I feel like I could have written a whole like review blog about all of the different curriculum.
That. I mean, look, maybe it works for some. I mean, we definitely figured out what curriculum we didn't want to use in doing that, but we were like, I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. We were looking for anything and everything. And
it was actually such a great time because no one knew what we were doing because it was the start of COVID. And so I felt like very like empowered because I was like, I can figure this out. Right. You know, I didn't feel like, oh gosh, like we're going to fall behind. Okay. We're not
going to fall behind.
And I will tell you, I know I homeschool people like who haven't had any experience with homeschool kids are like, man, like you guys are like probably like kids don't know anything, but it's amazing. Like
they're so much further ahead.
Yeah. My son, he's advanced so much in math. Like he would
and
not
science.
And science, just everything.
But in science, he tested 11th grade science. He's 12 years old.
Right. Every year we end up testing to show our proof of progress to the state. So this year I'm excited to see like where
the growth,
everyone has.
I bet you none of them are going to test at their grade level.
No
where they
way.
Would be in the public school. No way. Which grade levels don't really exist in homeschooling.
Yeah.
Which I know you think that's hilarious that I always bring this up.
You do. You love that. It's true though. I mean, our son would be so bored if he stepped into 2nd grade, or same with like our 6th grader, and even Eleanor. You know, like even our 1st grader.
Yeah, it's mastery. Once you master it, you move on to the next thing.
Yes.
Whereas the institutionalized school just beat you to death with worksheets because we're not in 3rd grade math yet.
It's because no child is left behind, and that's great. But I mean, I feel like if you have the resources to let your child thrive and move beyond what the lowest, percentile in his class is, like, why not?
Right.
Why do you have to wait for everybody
You
else
have
to
that-
catch up?
You have that option.
You just keep it pushing.
Right. Because there's a limited number of you. There's three kids in our classroom,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them's in each subject. So
Yeah. And a
once
lot of
you get it,
times-
you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to, what was that? Was it a co-op or what was that where they were like, oh yeah, you have to be in high school to do this or something like that. 8th grade. These are for middle schoolers or 8th graders. Was that a co-op? Would you consider that a co-op?
Yeah, it's a co-op.
So we went there, and I'm walking around. I'm trying to get understanding. Like, oh yeah, this is for drama. I was like, oh, this is for legal, or what was it, like a mock trial course, elective course, and stuff like that. And I'm talking to them, and I'm like, okay, great. Like, what ages is this? And they'd be like, oh, well, this is for 8th grade. You're like, well, what does 8th grade mean?
Right. I mean, it's just a way to organize things,
Yeah.
so it's not that big of a deal.
It is.
I know,
a big deal.
but so if like a co-op says like, okay, this is for 8th graders. I mean, from my experience, like usually you can say like as a parent, like, hey, like my 6th grader is really mature enough to go ahead and like take this
Yeah,
class.
but
Like,
what
can
is
you
grade?
admit them?
What does that even mean though? 6th grade. It doesn't mean anything. You could be in
Okay.
6th grade math. You could, and while you're in 9th grade science, and like, what does 6th grade even mean?
No,
what does
that's
that even
true.
mean?
I know you've been
I've been
reading
reading this book.
Yeah.
A couple books.
about these kids who have graduated high school at like
They
age
graduate
12.
high school at like 12, 14 years old.
Yeah.
Because why
And then they
not?
just start like
And then they go straight into getting your bachelor's degree, and they get their bachelor's degree by 17, 18.
yeah.
And then
We're not really on that track, and I don't
what
really.
do you mean we're not on that track?
Well,
Of
actually, no,
course we
that's not
are.
true. With our younger ones, we are. But with
Yeah.
I think Avery, our oldest, he had spent too much time like being held back from No Child Left Behind. I mean,
In the public school system,
we were told that like
sure.
he was. We're like, why is our child like
He was front loaded.
not sitting still, and why is he not focused? So he was very front loaded coming in to the
He learned
education
too much
system.
coming into the public school system.
Yes,
Like,
and
oh.
he'd do really well on Adderall.
Yeah.
That's what his kindergarten teacher told us. He'd do really
Oh my
well on
God.
Adderall. And there were two of them. The teacher's helper was there, and she said, "My
put
3 sons
mine-
are on Adderall. It's the best decision I ever made for them."
Right. Like, thank you, physician. Oh, I mean, a teacher's assistant for your.
It's like, okay,
Yeah. So that was kind of our initial step out.
red flags.
Red flag. Yeah. And which led
He's
to.
still not on Adderall.
He's still not.
He's
on
never
it.
had on Adderall.
Never. And now he's testing 11th grade science, and I mean, homeschooling has been
Doing
great for
exceptional.
him. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. It's been great for him. But that's my biggest beef is the whole grade, because after reading these books and understanding the philosophies that go around with deschooling and unschooling and
know.
all these things, why would you
I don't know.
continue to beat a dead horse?
There's no sense. We move so quickly through math, like, and
You
they're
should.
mastering, and like we'll circle back and review, but like we're climbing and climbing and climbing,
Yeah.
and it's like, I mean, I don't even
That's
know
what
what they're
learning is.
doing in the like public school, like what they're learning, but
Right.
he's like almost mastered his multiplication.
And you
facts.
shouldn't model your
He's in
education
he's 8
after the
years
public
old.
school system, right? Our 8 and our 6-year-olds are doing math, multiplication,
Yeah, and they understand what it
and
means.
they get it, right? That's the thing, is it's not just like we're singing songs, which that's part of it,
Yeah,
but they're actually mastering.
it helps them learn.
It does, yeah. Song is a great education tool.
Yeah, teach your babies their times tables like before they can even talk.
Mhm.
Like even because James like kills
Right. He'll
Yeah.
he'll
3
sing
times
the
3
song.
is 9.
Right.
Like,
Oh my
6
God.
times 4 is 24. And he's like 3
He
years
sings it,
old, and he's
knows
singing
the
it.
words. So now
So he doesn't know what it means yet. But when
he'll
we
click
do
on.
teach multiplication to him, we won't even spend any time because
He'll
he'll
catch
say,
on so much quicker.
"Oh, so that means 6 counted 4 times. Got
Mhm.
it." And he already knows them.
Boom. Right. You got the memorization
So-
piece of it and the understanding.
Yeah,
Let's move on.
And that's what I wish that we would have been able to give to our oldest, because when they're young, they can
Catch on
just
so much faster,
memorize
yeah.
everything. Just
Right.
feed them information when they're young.
He's still doing really well.
Yeah,
Which-
he is.
We had I don't want to call her a babysitter, but we had somebody who came over and watched our children last week, and she was 13, 14, something like that.
She was 15
She's 15,
or 16. Yeah, 15 or 16. No,
about
she's 16.
16,
Yes.
as a could graduate.
Yeah.
She was like, I don't want to graduate. I want to stay hang out with my friends.
She said I was gonna take high school in 2 years, but I decided I wanted to graduate with my friends, so I'm gonna do it in 3.
Right.
I'm like, okay. She's taking college classes
Right. Dual enrollment.
at the college that she wants to go to.
Which is another
Which is
portion
really
of
cool.
this deschooling, is to say, what is it that you want to get? Like, how rapidly do you want to get through these grades? And I say that in quotation marks for everyone watching on YouTube.
Right.
Like these grades that you're putting your child through.
It's like these kids love learning. It's so cool
Right,
to
why
like see
stop?
these homeschool kids in action because like they just love learning and they're so curious.
Keep pushing.
Yes.
Mark that down in terms of your deschooling, is to say, have a strategy, look for curriculum, look for methodology that accelerates the learning in your children. Don't hold them back because you feel like that, oh, they are in 6th grade and so they have to stay in 6th grade, or whatever that you think that means.
Right.
Because accelerating their learning and pushing them through their learning career is ultimately going to help them. And I struggled with that, and I still do a little bit, to say, well, what about their high school years? I want them to play high school sports, or I want them to have high school this, or I want them to be able to do that. But is that what's best for them as students? Wouldn't it be better for you to gift them with a bachelor's and a master's degree by like 2021? I mean, then they're entering into the workforce 22, 23 years old, where some of their friends are entering into the workforce, and maybe they already have two
or maybe their
bachelor's
friends
degrees.
are in the same point they are, and they're out there just starting a business,
Right,
because
exactly.
they're homeschooling kids and they
Maybe
just have so many life
Right.
skills that a lot of these kids are just so out of touch with.
That was going to be my other thing to say, is maybe they graduated at 16, 17, and you've helped them start an LLC and a business, and now they have a fully functional business and a high school diploma at 17, 18,
Right.
and they can go through that, start a business. And if it doesn't take off, then what? What do they go back to college in like 3 years, and now you're just on the same
That's
track
like
as
worst
everybody
case
else?
scenario.
Right.
Otherwise, like they are just running their business.
Right. I have so many friends that are
That would be so awesome.
my age. I'm 36. And I know so many friends that are 37, 38, started their businesses at 18, and they are way ahead of me.
Right.
In terms of their business. And I'm like, how did you do it? Like, how did you get so ahead in business? And they're like, well, Roy, when did you start your business? I'm like, 28.
Yeah.
I started at 18.
That's like, yeah. I mean, it's such an amazing gift to give to your children.
It really is.
Just like a tailored education.
Yeah. So don't get too caught up in the norms, and I'll say that in quotation marks.
Yeah.
Around what an education should look like, because it doesn't really matter. What matters is what education looks like to you and your family.
Right. And I don't know. I mean, you should still look into what your state laws are, because
some
states require, a certain amount of hours in different subject areas.
You have to take certain quizzes or what is it? Standardized tests.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in Virginia.
Look at your state laws.
Yeah, we're in Virginia, and we have to do. What do we have to do at the end of the year?
We just have to provide a proof of progress.
That's it.
Yes.
Just like we're learning over here.
Yeah. No, we do
numbers going up over here, baby.
We take the COGAT
I don't know what is
and
that?
the Iowa.
The Iowa
Standardized tests.
Yeah.
So, and then I just send the public school system just the grades.
Here you go.
Yeah,
We're doing work.
I redact everything except for the
middle name redacted.
I just give them the proof of progress.
Oh, that's very Ron Swanson.
I redact everything.
Redacted. We're gonna black out everything here except for the grade in the course.
Yep.
Math A. Middle name redacted.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, go through the deschooling. Take a hard look at it. What did you say? Every 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give yourself grace, a lot of grace when it comes to homeschooling. Don't put too much pressure on yourself right away. Like, less is more when you're starting. Like, I would rather start very simply and then add on, rather than just start with everything and then be like, get me out of here, right? Like, that's what we did this year, and I think we went about it the best way. Is like, we started very simply. I just really started with reading, writing, and math, just to start off of our school year, and then I slowly brought in like history and science and anything else that I felt like, technology, just based on where everyone was and what fit for us.
Right.
Whereas when we first started, I took on
Everything.
and I was like, whoa, how do I get this?
No one's having a good time here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, but it's like lessons learned, and we're in a better place now.
We are. You're doing a good job.
Thanks, Ray. You were too.
Well, guys, thanks for hanging out. Hopefully you got a lot out of this. We're actually going to move the podcast to twice a week, actually. So the Work Wherever podcast will be moving to twice a week. We have had a pretty big influx of new listeners. So thanks to all you new listeners out there. Make sure you like and subscribe our YouTube channel. We have all tons of YouTube content coming out, and that is already out around Microsoft 365, the Power Platform, how to build some of these tools to build yourself a career so that you can work from home, so that you can ultimately homeschool your children, and you can go work wherever, see the world, do whatever that you want to do, live every day like it is Saturday, like we say here. So check those out, subscribe to our YouTube, consume our content. If you're looking for more information, you're like, man, this is the career for me, go to online365.academy. That's our paid subscription platform where you can get professionally tutored, I guess, by myself and our members, where you can learn and go through the curriculum. And then we do have a level there that would join our mastermind, where members of our business that we have will jump on a call with you monthly, and we'll walk through some of your problems. We'll walk you through how to develop the way that we develop, and ultimately find you a remote career. So check that out, online365.academy. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Halie, you got anything before we put a bow on this one?
That's all for now.
That's all.
That's
Thanks
all,
for hanging out,
folks.
guys. See ya. Hey there! Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for all the latest videos from Capital Presence.